over most of the critiques that I've had over the trade deadline, the New York Knicks has been a major source of conversation because, of course, high expectations were coming over if Julius Randle was going to produce. He's now become an all-star this season. We'll see him over in the all-star break. Jalen Brunson sadly is not competing over in the skills competition, even though he's been a massive production over to the team. Following up, the Knicks won't be performing until the 24th after the All-Star break. We have a 9-day rest day for all 30 teams in the NBA. Over a 2.2 assist percentage. They average around 114 points per game. That's at least 14th in the NBA. In points off field goal percentage, they're 10th. They've been a consistent offensive team that pushed teams off the wire. They packed up massive upset wins against teams like Chicago Bulls twice in a row, the Toronto Raptors, the Boston Celtics, the Los Angeles Lakers. Knicks have shown out impeccable depth that can make and be essential rotation pieces. Of course, the only major loss due to injury that the Knicks have that is major concern is possibly Mitchell Robinson, the starting center. Excuse me. And besides that, we had massive consistency, especially heading over our top three players that are, of course, R.J. Barrett, that's already been injured over an injured finger, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, Quentin Grimes, Jericho Sims, Josh Hart, that we acquired over getting rid of Cam Reddish from the Portland Trailblazers. Also, if you guys are a Sixers fan, Matisse Thybulle also came over from the Portland Trailblazers. And that's coming over a three-way trade involving the 76ers. And they just closed out their last game over before the deadline, shutting out by 20 points the Atlanta Hawks over from the Atlantic Division. Playing out their best basketball with Jalen Brunson closing out, still getting screwed. I feel like he's been screwed with 40-point performances. And over, you've seen the Knicks record. They started off over a massive win period when they won 8 straight, especially over double overtime, going on a 3-game road trip where they faced off against the Indiana Pacers that are in a bit in a slump, and the Chicago Bulls that's been absolutely disappointing this season after being one of the most exciting teams over last season in the Eastern Conference, to winning around 4 of their last 5 games, picking up near double-digit victories and close ones against the Utah Jazz over a great performance over Josh Hart in his debut. Orlando Magic, where Julius Randle showed out. Julius Randle also had 8 3-pointers in a game. I think that was against either the Los Angeles Lakers or the Brooklyn Nets. Showed out against the Cleveland Cavaliers in a near close shutout where Julius Randle showed out. And Josh Hart, he's been possibly the biggest win over for the New York Knicks, being already undefeated over his last couple of rotations, being part of the team. He's massive on steals, always hustles over key flaws, and is a great spot-up shooter. A massive good acquisition. Around two of our best players have already played nearly half already of a total near 59 games that are already posted around the regular season, with Julius Randle playing the most with only 60. And he's already been given a bit of flack. I know I had my critiques, even reacting to a couple Knicks games over this channel, but he's showed out. And that's coming over his weak shooting splits that he had over in the middle of January. And he showed out to getting 45 points, 35 points. And he's making his second All-Star appearance since the 2020-2021 season, when he played over 71 games. And he might even break that because he hasn't gotten the flourish of issues. And that was possibly over a shortage of the season, over the total 71, where he even shot his highest over 35%. And now look at this. He hasn't been shooting 46% over his field goal rate since the 2019 season. That was his debut as a Knick. Having his highest field goal percentage from the two. He's been very effective over from the post, put back scoring, driving up coast to coast, and he's gotten some major highlights. He's still a bit of not a backbone over the defensive side of the ball. RJ Barrett has been a clean spot up shooter, athletic finisher. We thought he was going to be a massive asset over the trade deadline, but I guess there's still long term ideals coming from him. Uh, Underrated spot up shooter from the corner. Efficient shooter, efficient finisher, and always good to pick up his man over the switch. Jalen Brunson has been the saving grace over the next season. Underside, a small guard that's good off the defensive hustle, great off the fast break, can play make, and has been the consistent field goal provider for the Knicks. And other great rotation players like Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin over the second unit. I thought Matisse Thybulle would be a massive good fixture to help with the second unit, especially for his raw potential that we couldn't get over Cam Reddish with his struggles. But low key, I'm satisfied. The Knicks have been very effective. They have not given me bad basketball. Whenever they make flaws, they're very abundant, especially playing off against better teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, who they lost twice in a row already on. I think the Sixers still lead the series. I think they split the series with the Sixers, beating them recently and even on Christmas and picking up already 2 recent victories over them. Especially if it's been under a month, and this has been the most competitive month for the New York Knicks. Oh, and Emmanuel quickly has just been a great 6-man. Decent rotation piece over Jericho Sims that I feel like is more of an asset than Isaiah Hartenstein. But they get the job done when it comes to hustling over for the rebounds. Miles McBride, a decent spot-up shooter, but I bet there's better. I thought we were about to lose Evan Fournier as well as Derrick Rose. Knowing how much Derrick Rose has been having... I don't think he's been meeting rotations. And he's been in only the starting center's out with a fractured right thumb. That's been the only injury as of late. Anything else is just rotation pieces. Of course, they use Evan Fournier sparingly. Derrick Rose, you barely see him hit the floor. Honestly, when's the last time he even played, guys? I think I haven't seen him hit the floor since November. And he's only played a total of a handful of games this season. He's only played over a total of 26, and that's barely even a quarter half of the season. Over 39. And there's a total of 60 already gone. We only have around 20-something games remaining after this All-Star break. And I don't know what pivotal role Derrick Rose has other than rotating around the second unit. And this has been notably shown what's even going to be used. And I don't know if it's either health concerns or it's finding maybe more of a mentorship role or him still being over on trade talks, especially the need for rotation pieces. But hopefully we could use anybody sparingly. I feel like you're not a full squad if you can't use your full depth. Like you just have Derrick Rose sitting there. I see more of Evan Fournier used because he actually is a sparingly decent defender that can spot up over to the shot. Obi Toppin has an inconsistent 3, but plays it up with his athleticism. I don't think he's going to be in the dunk contest this weekend. He won it last year. And Miles McBride has his upsides even though he's a 6'2 point guard, but plays it up with decent athleticism. Finishes around the rim whenever the defense gets sloppy, and he's a good spot-up shooter when necessary. And he's not as good as Quentin Grimes or Emmanuel Quickly, that's more on the ball whenever it comes to playmaking, and Randall that's still he shows like a sparing enough of shooting whenever it comes to finding the right spots, and he'll finally score. That's the most polite way I'm trying to put over Julius Randle's play style. Other than that, he's been a solid piece. I feel like he still needs to like shoot when he's open, play make when necessary, not try to force over shots all because you can shoot them doesn't mean you should. Julie and that 1-2 combo and the instant chemistry that Brunson had over with Josh Hart, I love seeing it. Of course, these guys are former Villanueva teammates, so instant chemistry coming over from them. And you see that when they're pushing over the 1-2 over the fast break that you saw when they played the Utah Jazz and that showout game they had against the Hawks when even RJ Barrett was getting some spot up shots, pushing over fake passes from behind the back. You thought like it was the Warriors on off ball movement, the way they can hook up for Curry to hit the open three like that. That's the type of basketball that I think a lot of Knicks fans been waiting for, and at least some type of optimism, knowing that the Knicks are around evading play-in opportunity, because I think they stop around the 7th seed to the 10th seed, and you gotta fight for your right to play for the play-in at this point, and I think the Knicks are trying to evade that, because looking at the standings, it's a bit concerning, because Chicago now falls up over to 11th. Indiana, they were kind of hot over the spur of the moment. Now they're 5 games below 500, around 26-34. The Orlando Magic, they've been hooking actually as a competitive team, while Charlotte, terrible. Detroit, obviously terrible, especially over their loss of Cade Cunningham. Washington Wizards have been following up as a competitive team. We don't know what to get over from Atlanta, especially over that decisive loss. It felt like they half-bake it on offense. They don't have enough depth like they did last year over trying to trade for the barn for sign DeJounte Murray. I think they lost Gallinari, and they already have a lack of defensive assets as they could. It's when people thought that there was going to be somebody on the market for John Collins. Yet he's still on the roster. Miami Heat's been closing it out lately, and they're a couple games above 500, following up as the 7th seed below the Knicks. I don't know if they're going to be in the same run. They could follow up as a 5th seed or 6th seed. I guess where they're playing, I can see them still a seed higher than the Knicks at this point because they're still a good rotation team, and they play a highly disciplined, more style of basketball than the Knicks and the Nets. That of course are possibly going to fall, even though some of their fresher talent after the KD and Kyrie trades has been very impressive. You're seeing Cam Thomas put up some astounding numbers for his rookie season. Spencer Dinwiddie be an efficient automatic leader for the Nets after the loss of their 2 prime players. You're just seeing a lot of, and Mikal Bridges, he just showed out after a 45-point game. So just a bunch of potential young pieces over this team, because the only older players on the team is Seth Curry, Patty Mills, and Spencer Dinwiddie, and Joe Harris. But most of these guys are either already drafted or have been part of the team already, or already an asset as of a building block for the contending team that are the Nets. Could they fall off? Sure, but I'm not saying like this is finally a chance for the Nets to finally get what they were missing when they were still with D'Angelo Russell. A good amount of depth and optimism that the Nets can actually build something rather than try to buy in every time and be guaranteed that these guys are actually going to stick to the same page like they thought when they had Harden, Kyrie, and KD, and could still barely get out of the conference final or second round. So I'm actually pretty optimistic. I'm liking Cam Thomas. I love Spencer Dinwiddie's game. Dorian Finney-Smith Jr., Mikal Bridges, and Cameron Johnson are steals out of this trade that could be used on the defensive and offensive side of the ball. Seth Curry, you know what to get from Patty Mills as well, that can play as good depth pieces. All they're missing is a star that should have been Ben Simmons. That should have been the game changer out of his 42 games and still putting up around 6.9 points, even though he plays around 35 minutes. And over all the complaints of this nigga that finessed his way out of like 3 All-Star appearances, has been struggling to put up the same production that he did when he was still in Philly. And he missed over majority of the whole season, the 2021-2022 season. And now here he is, over 42 games played, finally over his first couple starts as a Brooklyn Net, 6.9 points out of his 14. He was averaging merely around a triple-double. He had a consistent field goal rating when it came to attempting over the fast break, and when he was on the floor, the Sixers were a very good team. Because there was already rotating pieces around them, especially around their depth, that made Ben Simmons stand out. And whenever he was on the fast break, it actually was good. You're not seeing that whenever he hits the floor. Whenever they actually need him to contribute, whenever KD was out or Kyrie was out, you're not seeing that over Ben Simmons. And there's already threats that he's possibly still over going to leave with his extensive contract that's already overcompensating for the production that he's not giving out. So I don't know if they're going to buy out. I heard Kevin Love is also going to buy out, possibly get bought out over his contract for possibly the Knicks to snag or the Lakers to snag. That's still possibly trying to find over a veteran big that can play make, get a bit of the pressure off LeBron, that has that instant chemistry. And that's all up to Kevin Love. I don't know what's going to happen with Russell Westbrook after the Jazz trade. Possibly another buyout as well. A lot of teams are still trying to get over the buyout market and contend, like the Chicago Bulls that got shut out by the Milwaukee Bucks recently. I don't know what to get from them, man. I really don't. I wish I had more answers, especially over the controversy that Zach LaVine doesn't even want to freaking play there anymore. DeMar DeRozan's been the only person they carry whenever they couldn't show out. They have the weakest three-point shooting team in the NBA, and they struggle to even beat teams like the Charlotte Hornets or Indiana Pacers. They have an undisciplined defense and just weak bigs. They have Andre Drummond and Nikola Vucevic. They got C-list players that used to be all-stars and would have been great foundation players from the 2010s, but now 2020, you don't mind even having a generic big like Al Horford on the team. And yes, he shoots threes too, but he does a lot more over the defense that actually makes him a viable option for any team. I just don't understand why they weren't in the market to try to trade for Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, players that can actually make a difference on the team, that can put a predator over the reliance of Levine playing hero ball, a lack of depth over the point guard position, especially over the loss of Lonzo Ball. That's still over surgery. And Billy Donovan just cannot play make enough to actually rotate enough players to whenever they hold over leads, because I heard they've been choking 17-point leads, 16-point leads, getting outplayed by teams that they should be blowing out, like the Hawks, like the Cavaliers, like the Pacers, like the Magic. Like, they should not be getting close games with the Charlotte Hornets of all teams, or the Portland Trailblazers. Like, there's teams there's games that the Bulls just hold on to, and they just can't capitalize, bro. Like, it's very disappointing. But you guys tell me how you guys are feeling. I understand the All-Star break is upon us, and for the players that are involved or fans, it's decent to take a break over basketball if you still want to enjoy that halftime show that's up on you, even though I feel like it's declining. But it's nice to at least chill for a bit and give your energy for the second half of the season. That's already upon us anyway. That's it for me. Thanks for watching the DC show. I'm gonna sleep.